In the year 2000, a small and relatively unknown company walked into a meeting with one of the most powerful corporations in America and made a simple offer. They were willing to sell their entire company for $50 million. The executives on the other side of the table reportedly laughed at them and sent them on their way. 10 years later, the company that did the laughing filed for bankruptcy, and the small company they dismissed became one of the most powerful media companies in the world. This is the story of Blockbuster and Netflix, and one of the most expensive business mistakes in modern history. To understand how this happened, you have to go back to the 1990s, when Blockbuster was at the absolute peak of its power. Founded in 1985 by David Cook, Blockbuster grew rapidly by doing something very simple but very well: renting movies to people in physical stores. By the mid-1990s, Blockbuster had thousands of locations around the world. At its peak, Blockbuster operated over 9,000 stores globally and employed more than 80,000 people. On a typical Friday night in America, families would drive to Blockbuster, walk through the aisles, and pick out movies to watch over the weekend. Blockbuster wasn't just a store, it was part of the weekly routine for millions of people. Blockbuster made a huge portion of its money not just from rentals, but from late fees. If you returned a movie late, you paid a penalty, and those penalties added up to hundreds of millions of dollars per year. By the late 1990s, Blockbuster was generating billions in annual revenue and was considered the undisputed king of home entertainment. The idea that this company could ever fail would have seemed ridiculous at the time. Meanwhile, in 1997, two entrepreneurs named Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph founded a small company in California called Netflix. Their original idea was simple. Instead of driving to a store to rent a movie, customers could order DVDs online, and the DVDs would be mailed directly to their house. When they were done watching the movie, they would mail it back. At the time, this seemed like a niche idea at best. Internet shopping was still new, and most people were used to going to physical stores for everything. Netflix officially launched in 1998 as an online DVD rental store. Customers would go to the Netflix website, choose a movie, and receive it in the mail a few days later. Early on, Netflix charged per rental, similar to Blockbuster. But in 1999, Netflix introduced a new idea that would eventually change the entire industry: a monthly subscription model. Customers could pay a flat monthly fee and rent as many DVDs as they wanted, with no late fees, as long as they returned the previous DVD before getting the next one. This was a direct attack on Blockbuster's business model. Late fees were one of Blockbuster's biggest sources of profit, and Netflix was advertising that they had no late fees at all. Still, in 2000, Netflix was not a major threat. The company was losing money and struggling to grow. That same year, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph decided to try something bold. They approached Blockbuster with an offer. The story has been told many times by Mark Randolph, Netflix's co-founder. In 2000, he and Reed Hastings flew to Dallas, Texas, to meet with Blockbuster executives. The proposal was simple. Netflix would handle Blockbuster's online business, and in return, Blockbuster would promote Netflix in its stores. Alternatively, Blockbuster could just buy Netflix outright for $50 million. At the time, Blockbuster was worth billions, and Netflix was a small, unprofitable startup. To Blockbuster, the offer sounded almost ridiculous. According to Randolph, the Blockbuster executives did not take the meetings seriously and ultimately rejected the offer. Blockbuster believed its physical stores were its greatest strength. They had brand recognition, thousands of locations, and millions of customers walking into their stores every week. Netflix, on the other hand, was mailing DVDs in envelopes. To Blockbuster, it probably looked like a small niche company with an unproven business model. But the world was changing, and the way people consumed media was about to change with it. In the early 2000s, internet speeds were improving, DVD players were becoming more common, and online shopping was becoming more normal. Netflix continued to grow its subscription model, and customers loved the convenience of not having to drive to a store and not having to worry about late fees. Blockbuster eventually realized that Netflix might actually be a threat, so in 2004, Blockbuster launched its own DVD by mail service to compete directly with Netflix. For a moment, it looked like Blockbuster might win. They had more money, more brand recognition, and more resources. But Blockbuster had a major problem. Its entire business was built around physical stores and late fees. When Blockbuster tried to compete with Netflix, they had to eliminate late fees to match Netflix's model, which cost the company an estimated $200 million in lost revenue. At the same time, Blockbuster was carrying massive costs from its retail locations, rent, employees, utilities, inventory, and logistics. Netflix didn't have stores. Netflix didn't have thousands of retail employees. Netflix's entire system was built around distribution centers and mailing DVDs, which was far cheaper to operate than thousands of physical locations. Then came the real turning point. In 2007, Netflix introduced streaming. Instead of waiting for DVDs in the mail, customers could now watch movies and TV shows instantly on their computers. At the time, streaming was limited and the video quality wasn't great, but the idea was revolutionary. Netflix was no longer just a DVD rental company, it was becoming a technology company. Blockbuster, on the other hand, was still focused on its physical stores. They did experiment with online rentals and streaming, but they were too late and too slow. The company had too much debt, too many retail locations, and a business model that belonged to the 1990s. As more people switched to Netflix, fewer people went to Blockbuster stores. As fewer people went to Blockbuster stores, the stores became less profitable. And because the stores were less profitable, Blockbuster had less money to invest in new technology. By 2010, Blockbuster was in serious trouble. The company was carrying nearly $1 billion in debt and was losing customers rapidly. In September 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. The company that once dominated the home entertainment industry had collapsed in just a few years. Meanwhile, Netflix continued to grow. The company transitioned fully into streaming, began producing its own original content, and expanded globally. Shows like House of Cards, Stranger Things, and Narcos turned Netflix into not just a distributor of content, but a creator of content. What started as a DVD by mail service had transformed into a global entertainment powerhouse. Today, Netflix is worth hundreds of billions of dollars and has over 200 million subscribers worldwide. Blockbuster, once the giant of the industry, has only one remaining store left in the world, located in Bend, Oregon. It has become more of a tourist attraction than a functioning business. The story of Blockbuster and Netflix is not just a story about two companies. It's a story about how quickly industries can change, and how dangerous it is for large companies to assume they are untouchable. Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix for $50 million. Today, Netflix is worth thousands of times that amount. What Blockbuster failed to understand was that they were not really in the video rental business. They were in the home entertainment business. And the way people consumed entertainment was changing. The companies that survive are not always the biggest or the most powerful. They are the ones that adapt the fastest. Netflix was willing to change its business model over and over again, from DVD rentals, to subscriptions, to streaming, to original content. Blockbuster tried to protect its existing business instead of reinventing itself, and that decision ultimately cost them everything. There's a lesson in this story that goes far beyond business. Sometimes the biggest threat to a company, a career, or even an entire industry doesn't look like a threat at all in the beginning. It looks small. It looks unimportant. It looks like something you can ignore. But the future usually doesn't arrive all at once. It arrives slowly, and then suddenly. In 2000, Netflix was a small company mailing DVDs in envelopes. By 2010, it had helped put Blockbuster out of business. And today, it has completely changed how the world watches movies and television. All because of a meeting where one company made an offer, and the other company laughed and said no.